Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a totally fascinating dynamic in the world of environmentalism. We usually think the most effective planetary stewards are adults, right? Well, we're going to look at the data and some incredible stories that prove youth activism is actually a massive driving force in conservation. So, who actually leads environmental change? We usually picture scientists, politicians, or adults sitting around at global summits making top-down decisions. But let's challenge that assumption for a second. As the case studies we're about to explore are going to show us, some of the most profound grassroots impacts in ecological conservation come straight from youth. It's a huge shift from the traditional power structures we often rely on, and it proves that localized youthful momentum can absolutely rival international policy. Moving right along to Section 1, Meet the Environmental Heroes. As we'll see, age is absolutely not a barrier to saving the planet. Let's kick things off with Section 2. Ryan replants a forest, from pocket money to thousands of trees. Okay, picture this. When Ryan was just 7 years old, he learned about how trees help the planet. But rather than just saying, "Oh, that's neat," and moving on, he set this audacious goal. He decided he wanted to plant a tree for every single child in the entire world. Crazy, right? He started simply by saving up his own pocket money. But the real magic happened when his clear, incredibly simple mission inspired his whole community to pitch in. Today, that localized initiative has grown into a literal massive forest. He saw a problem, started incredibly small, and scaled a very real solution. It's just a perfect example of how a hyper-focused individual goal can totally snowball into collective environmental action when the messaging is pure and direct. All right, on to Section 3. Stopping Island Plastic Pollution, Melati and Isabel's Movement Against Plastic. So over in Bali, two sisters named Melati and Isabel looked at their beautiful local beaches and saw them literally suffocating under plastic trash. They realized the severe harm this was causing marine life. And honestly, they didn't wait around for local authorities to intervene. Instead, they mobilized. They launched this massive movement totally focused on education, showing their community the direct, ugly consequences of single-use plastics. By unifying the island around a single, undeniable truth, they successfully pushed for a total ban on plastic bags. It's basically a masterclass in how local action can force systemic change. Their campaign worked so well because they focused on visible, immediate consequences rather than abstract future threats, making the problem completely impossible for local governments to ignore. Next up is Section 4, Marching for Climate Awareness. Z.A. Bosteda speaks out. CA realized that the shifting climate wasn't just some abstract scientific anomaly. It was a direct threat to her generation's future. Sitting quietly just wasn't an option for her. She began joining marches and mobilizing communities around one crystal-clear message: we must protect our planet for the future. Her true power really lies in translation. She takes all this dense, overwhelming climate data and refines it into an urgent, unifying message that demands attention from policymakers. It shows us how effective activism often requires stripping away the jargon, just replacing it with real emotional and moral urgency. These case studies, Ryan, Melati, Isabel, and G, they completely prove that traditional power structures aren't a prerequisite for environmental leadership. Youth voices often cut right through the political noise precisely because they carry uncompromised passion and moral clarity. Z's actions inspire everyone around her to use their voices, proving that genuine passion creates a massive ripple effect. When an initiative is decoupled from corporate interests or political posturing, it just resonates far more deeply with the general public. And that rapidly accelerates the timeline for awareness and real action. Which brings us to Section 5, Find Your Superhero Strengths, Unleashing Your Inner Planetary Steward. So let me ask you a fundamental question. What are your specific superhero strengths? In the context of environmentalism, superpowers are simply the unique talents, skills, or daily habits that you already possess and can deploy effectively. You don't need a massive global platform to be an effective steward. No, you just need to leverage what you're already exceptionally good at, applying your existing skill set to ecological challenges. Everyday habits are actually highly practical applications of those strengths. Maybe your focus is localized physical action, like picking up litter and organizing community cleanups. Perhaps it's operational efficiency at home, just systematically reminding your family to turn off the lights and reduce energy consumption. Or maybe you're a natural communicator, using storytelling to explain why nature is important and inspire ecological empathy in your network. Whatever your baseline skill is, applying it consistently is exactly how lasting environmental habits are formed. It's the aggregation of these highly specific micro-habits that ultimately creates real macro-level change. Let's look closer at that in Section 6. Small actions, big changes, while your everyday actions add up. The number one is incredibly powerful in conservation. It literally represents the catalyst, because every single movement, no matter how vast it eventually becomes, starts with a single action. One idea shared, one piece of legislation proposed, or just one seed placed in the ground. When you compound that single localized action with the actions of millions of others, you create this unstoppable, systemic momentum. The barrier to entry for environmental stewardship is quite literally just that, one action. It's a really powerful reminder that true scale is achieved through the continuous repetition of isolated, seemingly small efforts. We are all part of a huge, decentralized team of planetary stewards spanning every single generation. So I'll leave you with this final challenge. How will you use your unique superhero strength today to make our planet amazing? Take a second to identify what you do best, and then take that one small, tangible action. Because think about it, if an entire global forest can start with a 7-year-old's pocket money, imagine what we can start today.